Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, October 3rd, 2018. I still can't believe it's October. I am Dave Biddle. I'm joined by the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. Dre'Mont Jones, Robert Landers, and Mike Weber are all banged up. It's not serious, but none of them look super minor either. Damon Arnett's also banged up. All of them are listed as quote-unquote probable per Urban Meyer. Now, it's not the NFL, so probable for college can mean doubtful if he wants it to. The Buckeyes are facing a decent Indiana team this Saturday. They are 4-1 on the season. I will say this, though. I've watched the Hoosiers a decent amount this season. I bet they don't finish any better than 6-6 at best. In fact, looking at their schedule, which is pretty brutal going forward, I bet 5-7 is most likely for them. So my question for you, Bax, should Ohio State consider resting guys like Jones, Landers, and Weber this week?
I don't know. Maybe have the rotation a lot deeper. I will say this about Indiana. While I agree with you, I think 6-6 is probably their ceiling here. They did win at Virginia. That's not a bad win. They gave Sparty a little bit of a fight. I don't think Sparty's as good as a lot of people thought they'd be in the preseason.
The Virginia game was in Bloomington.
Oh, it was in Bloomington this year, and last year they were at Virginia?
I believe so, yes.
Well, either way, then they won at FIU. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. They beat Florida International on the road to begin the season. They beat Virginia, who is a solid team. They're not great, but they're a solid team. Yeah,
they're probably a 6-win team in a bad ACC.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, they're like we're both kind of agreeing here. This isn't a terrible team. You're not playing Rutgers here. But I do think that Rutgers was a terrible mistake by the Big Ten for the record. But anyways, I also think that
Rutgers somehow, and this is the last time I interrupt you, I'm sorry. Usually I don't do this. Rutgers actually gave Indiana a good game last week in New Jersey. Go ahead.
No, I wouldn't call it a good game. It was 24-7 at half, and Indiana thought it was over, and Rutgers was like, dude, we just have to keep plugging away. We don't want to get Coach Ash fired before November. And it's still 24-17. But, yeah, and you can interrupt me all you want, Dave. I'm sure it'll be better than just me, filibustering at people. You catch me monologuing like a supervillain.
I'm sure Penn State thought they had the game in the bag with up by 12 with 8 minutes left. How'd that work out? So the point is, Indiana only beat terrible Rutgers by 7. Go ahead. So should these guys?
Either way,
should we consider sitting these guys out this week?
Dude, no. I think you rotate everybody in. You put them on a snap count, And truth be told, Indiana is not going to keep this game that close. It's homecoming for the Buckeyes. It's an afternoon game. If it was a noon game, I'd be a little more nervous about the whole doldrums thing. But you're going to see more of a depth everywhere. You're going to see more rotation from everyone. And let's face it here. Yes, there's no Nick Bosa, of course. And Landers and Dre'Mont Jones are obviously incredibly important guys as your starting defensive tackle, but OSU legitimately has 6 other defensive tackles that could be on the field and still be very productive against Indiana. This is going to be like that Indiana game back in 2014 where Jalen Marshall had to single-handedly win the football game on every single kind of touchdown you can imagine. So, you know what? You don't want these guys to get hurt, but OSU's in a stretch of the season where, outside of the Purdue game the next 5 weeks, there's really nothing that makes me even consider that a team's going to keep it close. That's also coincidentally the only road game left of this group. I know Minnesota started off well next week, but I still don't think Minnesota's even close to Ohio State's class. Indiana's slightly better, and you can't take anybody so for granted. Otherwise, you end up with an Iowa situation. So have them ready to go. Don't play them too much. Use a deeper rotation throughout the game, and we'll be fine here. And I think that's the best way you have to take it, because if you go into a game worried about getting somebody hurt, then that's when you get hurt.
I had to ask you the question, and I agree with you. I think that's what they will do. I think they're going to play those guys, unless they have a setback in practice, but limit their snaps. Same thing with Damon Arnett. Sticking on the D-line, with Landers and Jones banged up, obviously Nick Bosa out until at least November, but great to see Nick Bosa after practice last night. We didn't get to interview him or anything like that, of course. They don't let you interview injured players. And, of course, he wasn't practicing, but just having him back in Columbus, seeing him with the guys. He had his practice like jersey on. He didn't have his pads on. As far as like underneath, like didn't have like. He might not even have shoulder pads on. I'll have to go back and look, but the point is he was there, and that was great to see. We'll see. I know a lot of people have said, I don't know a lot of people backs, but a lot of people have asked me, is Nick Bosa's career over? Is he just going to rest up for the draft? I keep saying this, Bax. Let me know if you disagree with this or agree. As long as he doesn't have a setback, and as long as Ohio State's in the national championship race, I 100% expect Nick Bosa will play again for the Buckeyes this season.
Agree completely. I think a lot of people are saying, oh, well, prepare for the draft, blah, blah, blah. Those are the same people who told Jadeveon Clowney to sit out his whole junior year a couple years ago. And guess what happened? He played. It wasn't a big deal. He was still one of the top 5 picks. So in Bosa's case, look, OSU's not going to rush him back. And if he's not healthy, he's not going to play. I think that part's a given. I think Urban recognizes that he has a player who has an incredibly bright and, frankly, lucrative future. So he's not going to mess with him. But what are the games we just mentioned here? Indiana, Minnesota, at Purdue. Then you got a week off and you got hapless Nebraska before you have to go play at Michigan State, right? I think OSU's looking at this and saying, dude, give him all the time he needs. Even if he's on a snap count at Michigan State and we get 10 snaps out of him, that's 7 weeks after the injury at TCU. That's a fair amount of time there. That fits in the time frame of that 6 to 8 weeks window. And if he's not ready for that, well, guess what? Then you don't play until Michigan. There's no point in doing it otherwise. And by the way, Ohio State in the past has succeeded without a top-tier defensive lineman playing. For example, the 2012 Michigan game where John Simon literally couldn't bend his knee on senior day. Ohio State still had enough depth on the D-line to go out and play a game that they ended up winning. So with all these other guys, look, you're going to try to keep an eye on everybody, but it's football. Everybody's banged up. And you don't bring Nick Bosa back until he's ready because quite freaking frankly, none of this stuff for Nick Bosa is really going to matter. OSU's going to win, in my opinion, OSU's going to win every game the rest of the way, with or without Nick Bosa, until the playoff. And then when you get to the playoff, and if you have Alabama lined up on the other side of the ball, then you need 100% Nick Bosa. That's 2.5 months down the line or whatever it is at this point. So just let it be. Let him heal. And you know what? The fact that he's around his team, he's with his teammates, encouraging them. He's going to help essentially coach a little bit with Larry Johnson, I bet, sitting there trying to give his teammates some feedback so he can have more time to watch them than he would normally if he was participating in drills. That's going to help these other guys get better too. So essentially Ohio State's D-line is going to continue to progress at a high level, and then they're going to add a superstar back to the equation at the end of the year while these younger guys get more experience. And luckily the schedule for Ohio State in the middle does not have anything scary coming at them. So it's, now they got through Penn State, no reason to rush them back, none whatsoever.
Hey, Bax, who are some guys that you would like to see play more for the Buckeyes?
Play more. Let's see here. Where should I start? Can I start with play less? Jason Wint. Don't put him on the field on defense again. Period.
Yeah, you can go with some play less too. Yeah, play less, but then play more.
God, like I don't want to pile on the poor young man because everything I've heard about him is he's a good young kid. Alex has talked about him at length as being a nice kid, and I know he's trying hard. But my goodness, he has been terrible in base defense this year. Like Pryor's had some trouble going to angles from that position. That's my complaint with seeing what Pryor's done at the safety position opposite Fuller. Jason Wint is constantly just lost out there, running into his own teammates. I don't want to pile on old Buckeyes either, but I thought Anderson Russell was going to be the roughest safety play, or Pitt Brown was going to be the roughest safety play we saw at Ohio State in my lifetime. And Jason Wint, the specter of him having to play more is putting those thoughts into question. Now, that said, I'd certainly love to see a lot more Shaun Wade out there, regardless of where we put him. I'm of the opinion that Shaun Wade's one of our 3 best corners, though. I'd like to see Damon Arnett at safety because I think he could be a Colt Coleman style of safety. But, at this point in time, I don't know how you keep Wade off the field, but you can't take Sheffield off the field, and I don't think you can take Okudah off the field. So if Wade has to start at safety next to Jordan Fuller, then make it happen. I don't care. The other thing I want to see a lot more of is somebody else at middle linebacker, and specifically Justin Hilliard. Tough Borland made a big play up against Penn State, forcing that fumble, no question about it, but it looks like he's running in sand. He just doesn't look like he's healthy, and I know OSU graded him out as a champion, and I'm sure that's all effort and assignment positions being right, but we saw him when he was chasing Trace McSorley on that big giant scramble play, and tough is just not there physically right now. Put it this way, if this was Alabama, Tough Borland would not be on the field right now. But, this is a little bit of my concern of Urban Meyer playing the kids that he falls in love with versus the best one. I want to see Justin Hilliard play, and I want to see him play a lot more. I kind of want to see Dante Booker play a little bit more. I know we weren't thrilled with what we saw from him last year, but right now I don't think Borland and I don't think Browning are the answers at middle linebacker when you get against another team that's close to you in talent. Those are two guys I definitely want to see a lot more of this year. Other than that, really, I'm not going to question what the coaches are doing on the offensive side of the football. I think a lot of people thought we'd maybe see a little more Jalen Harris. I think we'd like to see a little bit more Jeremy Ruckert, partly because I think Rashad Berry has had a rough year. He had the one touchdown early this year, but his blocking has been bad. Honestly, in that fourth down play call, I've literally never seen somebody act like they were going to block someone and then say, nah, screw it, I'm going to block someone else like he did. And the guy he decided not to block was the one who made the tackle on 4th and 1. So I think Rashad Berry certainly has not locked himself in. I don't think Luke Farrell has locked himself in, so maybe Ruckert really is the one on offense that we need to see a bit more the more I talk about it here. I know he's a freshman, and you have to see how blocking is, but I don't think our tight ends have played at a very high level at all. I think Pro Football Focus is going to tell you the same thing when you look at the grades they've given them, which are the lowest on any position group on Ohio State's entire team. But I think really if you're going to look at spots for more guys in the field, Jeremy Ruckert, even Jake Hausman, I'd like to see more of at tight end because right now Ohio State's tight end position is not succeeding in terms of the passing game, and it's also not really succeeding as well as you'd like in terms of blocking. Like if these guys were out there, Vanette and Hiremanning it, and blocking really well and not getting to touch the ball a lot, I don't think anybody would be complaining, but we're not getting the blocking that's needed. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter where Dwayne Haskins kept the ball on a zone read play, and watch what Rashad Berry does. He literally comes across pulling and sees a Penn State player and skips him and then goes to another one further down the line, even though that Penn State player that he skipped would have waltzed right into the middle of the backfield, and guess what? He waltzed right in the middle of the backfield and blew a play up. That's one of those moments where I'm sitting there thinking, that poor kid in film study is going to get just crushed. I've literally never seen that in a football game where a tight end decides not to block a guy he's supposed to be blocking.
Great insights, as always, from the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. You can catch his must-read column every Sunday. It is the Bucket. You can catch him on Twitter at Matt Baxendell, and really appreciate it, Bax, and thanks to all listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.